We are going to do something about Greenland. Whether they like it or not. Greenland. Financial security. Greenland. 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 But how did this ice-covered island suddenly become the center of global attention? Why is the United States so aggressively pursuing Greenland? And the real reason behind this obsession is far more important than minerals, oil, or even American security, so important that it could reshape the entire world order. Greenland is the world's largest island, located close to the North Pole. Around 80% of its landmass is covered under a thick layer of ice. In terms of area, it is larger than Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Indonesia. Yet, the habitable land is so limited that only about 57,000 people live in all of Greenland, mostly along the coastal regions where ice coverage is relatively lower. As for temperature, minus 30 degrees Celsius is normal here, while in the northern regions, minus 50 degrees Celsius is a daily routine. Summers last only as long as winters do in the Middle East, barely touching 10 degrees Celsius, and that too under intense sunlight. So how did this frozen land, where even blood can freeze, turn into a new Cold War battleground among global superpowers? Former US President Donald Trump openly stated that Greenland must become part of the United States, even if military force is required. This wasn't a one-time statement. Trump repeatedly expressed his desire to acquire Greenland, alarming geopolitical experts worldwide. Although Greenland is geographically part of the North American continent, politically it is an autonomous territory under the Kingdom of Denmark. Trump wants it to become part of the United States. But it's important to note Trump isn't the first American president to express such ambitions. The US has always considered Greenland a vital part of its national security. Until 1867, Alaska belonged to Russia, before the US bought it for just 2 cents per acre, driven by its desire to dominate the Arctic region. At that time, America also attempted to buy Greenland and Iceland, but Congress dismissed the idea as a joke. In 1910, President William Howard Taft made another attempt to acquire Greenland, but failed again. The US stepped in to protect Greenland to prevent Nazi forces from establishing bases there. After the war, in 1946, President Harry Truman offered Denmark millions of dollars in gold in exchange for Greenland. Denmark refused once again, but allowed the US to establish military bases. So while Trump's tone may be aggressive, he is certainly not the first US president to pursue Greenland. There are several reasons behind Trump's harsh stance. After tightening pressure following actions in Venezuela, he intensified his focus on Greenland. One major reason is national security. Greenland's Arctic location places it directly between the US and Russia. From a military perspective, whoever controls Greenland gains significant influence over the entire Arctic region. Although American forces already operate there, nearly 10,000 US soldiers, stationed at the Pacific Space Base, the concern isn't immediate invasion. The issue is political uncertainty. Greenlanders have long sought independence from Denmark. Denmark spends nearly half its budget subsidizing Greenland, yet Greenland has no standing army. Trump fears that if Greenland becomes independent, it might demand the removal of US bases or drastically increase rental costs. That's why America wants full control. Trump also mocked Danish defense, saying Greenland couldn't possibly be protected by 2 dogs pulling a sled. But the world doubts America's intentions, mainly because of its past. Iraq was invaded over claims of weapons of mass destruction. None were found. Vietnam was attacked based on the Gulf of Tonkin incident, later proven false. Libya was bombed in 2011 under claims of genocide, though many experts believe the real motive was to stop Gaddafi's gold-backed currency, which threatened the US dollar. Given this history, many believe Greenland is just another case security as an excuse, resources as the real goal. Greenland holds massive reserves of rare earth elements, considered the oxygen of future technology. The ice sheet averages 2 kilometers deep, trapping untapped resources beneath it. According to geological surveys, Greenland is the 8th largest reserve of rare earth minerals, including neodymium, used in EV motors and wind turbines, gallium, essential for AI chips and radar systems, uranium for nuclear, energy, silicon for semiconductors and solar panels. Currently, China controls nearly 90% of global rare earth supply and has recently restricted exports to pressure Western nations. Whoever controls these minerals will dominate future technology, and this is a key reason the US wants Greenland. Estimates suggest that 31 billion barrels of oil lie beneath northeastern Greenland alone. Another critical factor is undersea internet cables. Most global communications run through cables beneath the ocean, many of which pass near Greenland, connecting the US and Europe. Russian ghost vessels have been spotted near these cables, raising fears of sabotage during conflict. Greenland also hosts an upgraded early warning radar (UEWR) system that can detect Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles, moments after launch missiles that would pass over Greenland on their way to the US. But perhaps the most overlooked reason is a new global trade route. For centuries, humanity searched for a faster route between Europe and Asia. Canals like Suez and Panama shortened journeys, but the Arctic remained impassable due to ice. Now, global warming is melting Arctic ice, opening the Northwest Passage. A ship traveling from China to London could save 9,000 kilometers in 10 to 15 days by using this route, saving millions in fuel. Whoever controls this route becomes the gatekeeper of global trade. Russia already controls much of the Arctic coastline and plans to tax ships. China wants to develop a polar Silk Road. The US fears losing control, and Greenland sits right at the entrance of this emerging maritime highway. If the US gains Greenland, it effectively becomes a toll booth on the world's future trade highway. Experts warn that forcing control over Greenland could trigger a global crisis. Denmark is a NATO member, and its prime minister has stated clearly, any forced takeover would spell the end of NATO. If America succeeds, the US becomes the supreme. Arctic power trust between Europe and America collapses. China suffers a major strategic blow. Greenland's ecosystem faces irreversible damage. Indigenous cultures risk extinction. Melting Arctic ice may open new paths, but it also opens new dangers. Whatever happens to Greenland will shape the next 100 years of global politics. Will it be a decision for peace or the beginning of a new world war? Only time will tell.